So, I've been cycling to work and back every day throughout this great snow adventure. And it's been so exciting and exhilarating and blah, 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 blah. And I'm going to make a nice long video about all the times I've gone through this one place. All right, this is Runnymede between St. Clair and Dundas. This is a month after the initial big snow drop. There's still a whole bunch of snow piled up in the spot. And, every day I either go through the cycle tracks if they seem good, or I take the road, just depending. And then, on my way back home, I do some shopping. Locking my bike up to all the, available post and ring spots that I can find, or whatever's available, no big deal. Mostly cycling along the back streets and stuff, but sometimes I just use Runnymede itself at high speed, when it seems safer. Every day I've just been sort of playing it by ear, doing whatever's the best idea on that particular day, making the best of it. Good thing the roads are all flat. They don't have any crazy protrusions that might be hidden in the snow and mess me up, anything like that. Drivers are generally pretty awesome. Of course, because I'm an accomplished vehicular cyclist, I don't need the bike lanes. Don't need to be relying on the cycle tracks, which just infantilize me and keep me out of the traffic. Because, no, I can totally share the road with the drivers, that's no problem. Sometimes these the cycle tracks are in good shape and everything, and they're clear, and maybe a little bit of snow in there, but no big deal. Sometimes not. And I just do what I need to do. See, totally don't need bike lanes. I mean, can just share the driving space, no problem. And of course, when I need to, I can always make requests to 311 for them to clear different places. Anytime I encounter something that, needs work, of course, I don't hold back, call them up.
Hi, I wanted to report a icy spot in at one of the cycle tracks in the north end of Runnymede.
And so so if I'm at Dundas and St. Clair, which I'm heading south,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if you're at Dundas
So
and...
south on St. Clair?
No,
Or
south on Runnymede. Sorry, yeah, Dundas doesn't intersect with St. Clair. It's south on Runnymede from St. Clair.
oh, sorry, I'm looking at St. Clair. It's 1 second.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Underneath some train tracks.
Okay. So is it before or after the train? Yeah, so it would be before the train tracks. Okay.
Well, it's basically, it's like
Yeah.
right in the underpass.
Okay.
So it's like right under the tracks.
Right under the tracks. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, I'm super lucky. I got a great spot to put my bike at work. It's awesome. You know, no problem. Yeah, I mean, I've also been, you know, checking up on the Scarlet lanes. Sometimes I use them on the weekends or the weekdays, you know, getting to work and back. Very useful. And, you know, for a month they were full of snow, big piles of snow, and then they cleared them off. And, you know, I ran into a little bit of a problem with a little bit of ice. So, you know, so sometimes you gotta take things into your own hands. But as you can see here, you know, I managed to sort it out. It's not so bad, right? Just a little bit of gunk here and there. Nothing to worry about too much. And you know, clearly the city services have been a little bit overwhelmed. So I think it's only fair that the public should probably, you know, step up and help out ourselves, especially since some, you know, cyclists don't pay for any of the road infrastructure that we use. You know, it's not like the cycle tracks and the maintenance come out of the same property taxes that you know, that the rest of the roads come out of. They come out of the special cyclist tax that only the drivers pay. So this is, at least this is what I keep hearing from drivers, you know, on Facebook. And why would they lie, right? You know, so gotta step up and contribute somehow. I mean, especially since, you know, as a cyclist, of course, I'm unemployed and don't contribute to society in any way. So you know, I've got to step up at some point and you know, help out with stuff. It's not like there's any uh, city tools for, you know, dealing with ice and stuff like that. And I mean, you know, of course they call 311. They come and salt it and everything like that. No, uh, this is the result of calling 311 and then the city coming by and dealing with it. Of course, they're, you know, quite proactive and stuff. But there's only so much you can do. I mean, there's no way to predict the weather. It's not like there's, you know, some kind of like weather report where we know what's going to happen the next day. So, you know, from one day to the other, if you got slush in the bike lane, it could just melt and dry up, or it could just freeze into a ice sheet, and you know, it's totally unpredictable. You never know what's going to happen, so just got to deal with it as it comes. There's no real way to be proactive about this kind of stuff. It's not like you can just be like, oh, it's about to freeze. You know, this water turns into ice when it's frozen. We still don't understand water, you know, well enough to really get a handle on, you know, getting ahead of the problems of ice and slush and that kind of thing. So, you know, I think it's only reasonable to take some personal responsibility here. Look at it's such a beautiful day. It's it's not like there's any other cyclists really using Scarlet anyway, so I can understand why they're not doing anything to really make it possible to keep using it during the winter, since nobody's using it. Why put money into making it an option when, clearly if people wanted to do it, then they would do it when it was totally impossible. And then the city would realize that and make it possible, right?
Or ice in a cycle track. It's the it's between Runnymede and Dundas and Runnymede and St. Clair.
Okay, let me take a look. So it goes along Runnymede from St. Clair to Dundas, and is it traveling north or south?
Today I only noticed it on the southbound lane, but I also noticed a cyclist walking his bike at the edge of the driving space. So I assume that the same thing is going on in both of the. Pardon?
And going in both directions, both north and south on Runnymede?
Yeah, I really don't think that somebody would be walking their bike on the road if that wasn't the case. So yeah I'm pretty sure. And I forgot to mention there's still a bunch of piles of snow in the on the bike lanes in the area as well, in that same area from Dundas to St. Clair.
Meanwhile, I keep discovering other routes between Rockcliffe Smith and Swansea. Like this one, where you get a whole ton of exercise because of these hills, which I did some special stuff to my bike so that I had a road bike that made hills really easily. It's practically impossible to find a bicycle like this. It's kind of like if there was no such thing as a sedan or a minivan, and the only type of cars you could get are like hatchbacks and, I don't know, Humvees or something like that. Bikes are weird. Right now, if I was going to advise somebody on like what kind of commuting bike I would think they should get, it would be, and this is going to sound ridiculous, it would be get yourself a gravel bike and then put road bike tires on it. That's how stupid the the bicycle market is. And because one of the reasons why people have said like, oh, there's no point in putting bike lanes on Scarlet is because there's a hill there and cyclists can't do hills, but it's the least onerous hill in the whole area. It's like the least hilly way to do that route, and this is me going up the steepest hill in the entire area, like on practically no sleep. I'm tired. Just get yourself a good bike. But by get yourself a good bike, I mean get yourself an old 10-speed that just happens to have the right frame size so you can fit, and then you got to you got to make your own front end of the drivetrain, and it's so that's get yourself the right bike is really, it's not that easy. It's kind of stupid. But yeah, after all the ice was gone from that initial snowfall, and whatever. Some of these cycle tracks and stuff are still a mess and unusable and stuff, but yeah, still, my typical daily thing is mostly this. It's mostly just the side streets of, the Swansea area, and I don't know, I'm doing 30 or 40, and it's pretty good. And of course, in the odd spots where you gotta use the arterial roads, I would never think of cycling on the sidewalks, so naturally I do normal vehicular cycling. Thanks to John Forrester for pioneering the technique of driving your bicycle. And I see no problem, right? And it got a little bit rainy. Well, good thing it's not about to get totally frozen for several days, and good thing all the storm drains are clear and there's no ponding or anything like that. It's going to turn into ice sheets. And it's especially lucky for us, that there's not going to be like another snow dump that hides all of that ice and then turns into slush, which then turns back into ice. And, the city, of course, will clear all the slush away before that happens. It's not like they're going to allow a bunch of slush to accumulate and then freeze, right? That would just be obvious. Obvious, like, dangerous neglect, and they're not going to do that to cyclists. There's just too many of us cycling in the winter to let that happen. And I mean, if they let that happen, then it would reduce the number of people who are cycling in the winter, and that's not what the city of Toronto people want. Oh no. So yeah, well, we got another snow dump. Side streets are a little bit more sketchy, but I don't know. I grew up skiing, so no big deal. Here I am, anticipating being a lot more conservative and careful on Dundas than I actually need to be. These are the drivers that I was pulling over to allow to pass me, and they're doing like 20, so I could have just stayed on the road. But I'm chill. Like, I don't know. What am I rushing for? Am I rushing to the hospital to get some injury going on? I just stay chill. Oh yeah, okay. A month and a half since the big snow dump, and the Runnymede cycle tracks in the north end are still have a bunch of piles of snow in them. Of course, I called 311 about it. I guess they're just busy and overwhelmed. So they could probably use some help, right? Might as well do my part, help out a little bit. Just since they don't, it's not like the city does any clearing of debris from the bike lanes or whatever, through the fall, the winter, or the springtime. So there's still leaves in the cycle tracks from the fall when all the leaves came down. There was a big storm, and I managed to clear out these storm drains myself at that time, preventing like months of continuous ponding and ice, which is what happened a few years ago. That was ridiculous. The lanes were entirely full of ice for the entire winter, just because nobody removed the leaf litter from the storm drains. Like, okay. it takes like 15 minutes to do it on each side. This is me doing it with my boots. So, you know, clearly that's way too much to ask of the city. They're busy you know, they're busy uh salting a bunch of ice that you know, they could have just swept it out of the way when it was still slush, but now it's ice. And, you know, it's slush that turned to ice, so it's kind of extra difficult. And you got to apply extra salt to it. Really, it becomes very challenging. So they're playing catch up. They're always hooking themselves up with extra work by not being opportunistic and proactive. And so I'm sort of picking up the slack like before it becomes slack. And just amazing how, like, all the stuff I'm clearing away here is the type of stuff that turns into icy speed bumps that totally plague the cycling network. And all this snow up here, it's just, it's impassable. There's a bunch of icy bits underneath it. So this is going to be garbage for, I don't know, a week, 2 weeks? We'll see. The weather's predictable, but unfortunately our maintenance situation is not predictable. Meanwhile, you know, the driver's like, I should be yielding to that one, but then the one on the right, like, waved me through. So you got this driver, I'm trying to yield to this driver and this driver right here, and this one is waving me through, and stupidly I went for it, so I failed to yield to that driver on the left. It's just, I love it when people just go when they're supposed to go and yield when they're supposed to yield. Check it out. There's all these places where the city did an excellent job of plowing it, and for a month it's been great. Typically the spots where people walk their dogs. If you can find places where there, you know, where people's dogs really need to go to the bathroom twice a day, and, you know, you got people walking their dogs, those places will be cleared. You can count on that. The Toronto dog owners, they're well represented, and they are definitely our best allies, and they don't know it. They would hate to. No, they're awesome. Oh, look at this! This is the person that I failed to yield to and slowed down 5 minutes earlier. So, you know, this is one of those days when I know there's snow coming. And of course, I can predict the weather because I have like a magical crystal ball, so I know when things are about to get sketchy and when it's, you know, we got a golden opportunity here to do a little bit of preventative maintenance to avoid a week of terror. And, you know, I called 311 on this previously and everything like that, saying like there's ice in the lane and stuff. So they came by and used their tools that they use for ice in the cycle tracks and everything, and that's great. Then I came by and used mine. This is me trying to clear a storm drain, which didn't turn out to be there. I'm like, wait a minute. Where the fuck is it? Okay. So I wasted a whole bunch of time clearing nothing. But this stuff gets hidden, right? You gotta... You can see there's all this water, you know, draining and ponding in places. So right here, it's going to turn into a big ice patch unless the ice that it is flowing around gets cleared away so that it can actually flow through a safe spot. So, you know, I realized that wasn't where I thought it was, and good thing. Okay, anything that you're going to try on the road, just like with like fabric cleaners and stuff like that, you want to try it on an inconspicuous spot to make sure it is not going to do damage, right? Okay, so I got this small hiking pickaxe that is that the roads are absolutely invulnerable to, so it works out well. I stopped using my kryptonite lock as a ice breaking thing because well, at some point it might break. But the pickaxe doesn't actually work that much better. So if you got a nice sturdy kryptonite lock, I say go ahead and use that. And oops, all that leaf litter that's been there for months because they don't clear it during the fall when it's actually needed, and they don't do any sweeping or clearing until I think April. So this is why all through the spring, the cycle tracks and bike lanes are totally full of sharp debris and leaves and blah, blah, blah. But all these leaves and stuff, I'm clearing it now because it's visible for the first time in a while. It's there because it just got washed into this area with all this rainwater and stuff. And also, it's about to turn into icy speed bumps of doom that will catch your front wheel, throw you off the bike, and this is how I ended up with a sprained wrist. I hit one of these ice chunks at 30 kph and wiped out. A couple days later, I'm fine. It's all good. No, that was on Scarlet. This is Runnymede. I wiped out on Scarlet. It looked totally fine, but it wasn't. So this is there's like the water is draining through here, right? But all over here, there's this big ice patch. Not that big, but it's big enough that the water is going all the way around it here. So the only spot that you can actually bike through right now has water in it, and when the temperature drops, it's going to turn into ice. So I'm getting rid of half of the ice so that the drain water has a place to drain off, so that half of the bike lane will be usable through this period. So I am totally glad that the city salted this, because otherwise this would have been harder to scrape off. But I mean, they probably should, if they're not going to hook themselves up with some tool for getting rid of ice, they probably should just sweep away the slush before it turns to ice, because sweeping away slush takes zero time. Like, if I just swept this stuff away when it was slush instead of being a lazy loser, I wouldn't be scraping it off here, feeling super self-conscious in this dank underpass, late for work. It's you can save yourself a lot of time just by being proactive. Yeah, it really would have been good if the city had, or I, had taken care of what was already in this lane here while it was visible. Because now it's all covered in snow. And this bike lane's going to be impassable for at least a week. That sucks. And check it out, this driver was like waiting for me to walk across on foot, and I waved them past. Like, the drivers that aren't total loser bullies are so awesome, and the total loser bullies are like, I don't know, 1 in 10, 1 in 20. It's incredible how good the driver behavior is, given that there's no enforcement of the traffic laws. But I mean, I don't know. Torontonians are nice. We're supposed to be terrible and grumpy and mean and hate everybody, but 15 years, I've never really seen evidence of that. So yeah, no big deal. I think I've called 311 about these piles of snow twice over the last month, and but yeah, I understand they're overwhelmed. When you've got a whole bunch of ice to deal with because you didn't sweep it away when it was slush, you're gonna be overwhelmed. It's when you're doing everything reactively and waiting till everything is as hard as it could possibly be to take care of, you're gonna always be playing catch up, and that's unfortunately most of they're proactive sometimes. Every once in a while you see them do something proactive, but it's once in a blue moon. Of course, it always helps when people are obeying the right-of-way laws and not trying to mess around. You know, not breaking the law or anything like that. And I do appreciate it, you know, when road users make themselves visible, you know, on the road, so that they're not like randomly coming out of nowhere and stuff. Not camouflaged against the background in any way. It really helps. Look at that. See, during this process, every once in a while I see some work being done. And I'm like, oh, thank you so much. They are, you know, they are doing stuff. And you can see the results. See, they plow it and get rid of the snow, and then the next day, snow is gone, and of course they've salted and sanded the remaining ice adequately because they've... What the fuck? I mean, clearly the city has all the tools for the job. No need to improvise or do anything. God damn it. It's not a... There's some things that the city really does need to take care of, and you know, if you just let the appropriate authorities... I really should have just come along here with a broom and gotten rid of this slush when it was still slush, because look at this. I'm just like, screw it. Not going to happen. This is a sidewalk for now. Use a broom so you don't have to use a pickaxe, folks. This is... I mean, it's understandable. Like, there's no real... there's no cyclists, like, using this area other than me. It's not like... It's not like it's popular enough to warrant investing in making it easy enough for it to become popular enough for it to, you know, be for anyone to really need to think about making it safe enough for it to become popular enough to invest in making it safe, right? It's it's no big deal. I mean, you can still get through, right? It's, I don't know, it's better than the sidewalk. It's wider than the sidewalk. The sidewalk sucks. So, oh, see here, I'm popped out, and now it's all good. No big deal. I can just always use vehicular cycling and check behind me, make sure I'm not breaking anyone's right of way, and you know, I'm sure the drivers won't mind having me in the middle of the curb lane, and no need to wait for the entire road to be clear. You know, I can just act like a driver, right? The cyclists fare best when they behave like and are treated like, you know, vehicles on the road. The part that... The real asterisk is on the part where, and are treated like, you know. I can behave like a driver, you know. I'm not sure I want to be treated like a driver 100% of the time without having a car around me, because I remember being a driver and, you know, drivers bully each other too. You know, the tiny percentage of bully drivers that are out there. they also bully the other drivers. So all this like act like a driver, get treated like a driver, while also not being surrounded by metal. It's kind of nonsense, but I mean, I don't know, here I am making it work. I make it work because I know what's going on behind me, and anything sketchy that happens behind me, I just get off the road. I can get entirely off the road because I'm not taking up any space. So, as you know, if you're up for doing stuff that the vehicular cyclists are totally allergic to even talking about, and the cyclists who demand bike lanes and won't go anywhere that doesn't have bike lanes are totally allergic to talking about, and prevent all of the kind of ridiculous stuff from happening that the tiny percentage of violent drivers out there are up for doing, which society in general is in total denial about, then you can make vehicular cycling work. It's awesome. It's great. And this is why this segment of Bloor is never going to have bike lanes on it, ever. It's not like it's about to get cycle tracks extended beyond here. So, yeah. And, on weekends I love going for the odd trip, the odd adventure and stuff. And check this out. The Eglinton Path, all the way to the Mississauga Creek Trail, is in great shape. Mississauga Creek Trail, not so much, but I mean, if I had a the right bike, like this makes me want a dual suspension mountain bike, not even a fat bike. Well, fat bike, sure, whatever, but no, dual suspension mountain bike would be awesome on here. I could be doing 20, 30 kph, but to get out here, the dual suspension mountain bike sucks. So this is why you want a electric dual suspension mountain bike, which is kind of essentially a light dirt bike. So I guess that's going to be my next bicycle, dual suspension mountain bike, which really is the ultimate suburban vehicle. But man, Mississauga, look at that. Not bad. Thank you, Mississauga. I will be returning. Love you long time.